Breaking news off the top tonight, the U.S. military carrying out a strike on Syria. President Trump spoke on the issue just moments ago. The move coming just days after dozens of Syrian people were killed in a gas attack, including innocent children. More than 50 missiles were launched on a government-controlled airbase in Syria.
We have team coverage on tonight's breaking news. D.C. Bureau Chief Ross Palumbo is monitoring the situation from our nation's capital. And
Andrew Perez is in Palm Beach, where Mr. Trump is hosting the Chinese president tonight. Let's check it out with Ross. Ross, start us off.
Well, Calvin, Laura, of course, this is a breaking story. Let me tell you what we know. This all started tonight at around 8:50. Two U.S. warships in the Mediterranean firing more than 50 Tomahawk cruise missiles at an airbase in the western part of Syria. Let's take a look at the map so we can tell you what we're talking about here. It is the Shayrat base we're talking about, and it's where the military believes Bashar al-Assad launched those chemical attacks on his own people. We're hearing from the White House that Russia actually was notified before the attack happened. We're also hearing that there were Russian soldiers on the base at the time of the attack. We don't know if there were any casualties or what the extent of any damages are. Take a look at this photo we just got in. This is the USS Ross firing that Tomahawk missile, one of them, just tonight. You can see the smoke trail on the right side of your screen. The president speaking to the country about all of this just a few minutes ago. Take a listen.
Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad launched a horrible chemical weapons attack on innocent civilians. Using a deadly nerve agent, Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children. It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in this very barbaric attack. No child of God should ever suffer such horror. Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched. It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons. There can be no dispute that Syria used banned chemical weapons, violated its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention, and ignored the urging of the UN Security Council. Years of previous attempts at changing Assad's behavior have all failed, and failed very dramatically. As a result, the refugee crisis continues to deepen, and the region continues to destabilize, threatening the United States and its allies. Tonight I call on all civilized nations to join us in seeking to end the slaughter and bloodshed in Syria, and also to end terrorism of all kinds and all types. We ask for God's wisdom as we face the challenge of our very troubled world. We pray for the lives of the wounded and for the souls of those who have passed. And we hope that as long as America stands for justice, then peace and harmony will, in the end, prevail. Good night, and God bless America and the entire world. Thank you.
The president sounding very emotional, speaking just a few minutes ago. All of this coming after Tuesday's chemical attack in Syria. More than 100 people killed, 25 of those children. The president spoke about this on Wednesday at a press conference in the Rose Garden. He was very emotional. He called it horrific. He promised a message would be sent, and tonight this was it. Today at Mar-a-Lago, the president was asked about a military strike, if it was imminent, and what sort of congressional cooperation he might need.
Mr. President, do you still believe you need military, congressional authorization for military action in Syria?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Well, the president, of course, not answering that question. Joining me right now, Senator Marco Rubio. Thank you for joining us, sir. What's your immediate reaction to these airstrikes tonight?
The president made the right decision. Syria is a signatory to the Anti-Chemical Weapons Convention they signed in 2013. There was an agreement that they signed on to that the United States and Russia were supposed to enforce. Obviously, Russia has not only not enforced it, they've lied about it. And in addition to that, the United Nations Security Council. So that had to be enforced. And the second thing is there are hundreds of American troops in the region, and this guy's dropping sarin gas on people. If he's willing to do it against civilians, he might be doing it against our troops. So his ability to do that had to be diminished, and tonight it was.
You know, tonight Rand Paul is out saying that the president should have come to Congress. This was not an attack on the U.S., so he needed congressional approval to do this airstrike. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, that's not accurate. The president has the right to act as the commander-in-chief in the defense of our country. In fact, when there's an imminent threat, and I think the presence of sarin gas in the hands of a regime where you have hundreds of American troops in the region is justification. If he wants to declare war, and actually an all-out war with ground troops in an extended period of time, then he should seek a declaration of war. But that's not what this was tonight.
What do you think about the involvement with Russia? There were Russian troops apparently at that air base. The U.S. Did warn Russia, but Rex Tillerson tonight was very clear saying that they did not go to Russia and seek approval. Do you think there's going to be a backlash from Russia?
Well, just to be clear, they warned them through military channels, military to military. That's a common thing between militaries. Their objective was not to kill Russians. The objective was to destroy an airbase. If there were Russians at that airbase, the airbase that Assad uses to launch chemical weapons, well, then that just proves that the Russians not only knew that there were chemical weapons, but that they lied to the world about it.
Senator, what sort of information are you getting tonight about how successful this strike was? Are you hearing any reports of the damage or casualties?
Yeah, I think there's not much of an airbase right now, and I think I'm sure the Pentagon will release images if they have not done so already. When you launch 59 Tomahawk missiles, the United States military isn't going to miss. We've got the best in the world. And on top of that, this was not a large airbase, but it was significant enough for them to launch airstrikes with sarin gas. I don't think they're going to be flying out of there for a while.
You know, after a much larger chemical attack back in 2013, the president urged then-President Barack Obama not to take any action. Now this complete reversal. Do you think this was the time to act?
Yeah, it's a totally different circumstance. In 2013, there wasn't an agreement. They weren't even signatories to that agreement. The Russians weren't involved there yet. There was still a chance to topple Assad without airstrikes. And if you were going to conduct airstrikes, they had to have a clear military component. Kerry and them talked about a pinprick attack. This is different. This had a clear military objective, the destruction of an airbase, and that's what the president did tonight.
All right, Senator Marco Rubio, thank you for joining us tonight. We also got some reaction tonight from Representative Ileana Ros-Lehtinen just a few minutes ago. Let's listen to what she had to say.
It was the necessary thing to do. Assad has clearly shown over these 6 years that he has no regard for human life. The barrel bombs, and now this latest strike of using chemical weapons once again, even though we all thought that there were no chemical weapons left in Syria, against innocent women and children.
You know, the reaction tonight, not just along party lines. Just a little while ago, I heard from Florida Senator Bill Nelson, and he said that he supports the president on these airstrikes. So, Laura and Calvin, again, what we know at this hour is that the strikes began just before 9 o'clock Eastern time. More than 50 Tomahawk missiles fired from two warships in the Mediterranean, and no reports yet of casualties. No indication of what the extent of damages were, but as you heard Senator Marco Rubio say, he believes those damages are most likely very extensive.
And Ross, the president is calling for an international coalition. He wants support in this, but time is going to tell.
You know, it's very unusual, Lori, that the president did not go to the international community and seek support beforehand. That has been the actions of past administrations. But in this case, the president made it clear at that press conference that I attended on Wednesday in the Rose Garden that he intended, whatever his message was going to be, he intended it to be a surprise. He's been very clear for more than a year now that any military action that he would take would be a surprise, and he would not be including anyone in on that. So I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. We'll see what the international reaction is tomorrow morning, of course.
All right, Ross Palumbo, great to have you on the Hill. Thank you.